It's alleged the duo is part of at least 6 suspects that staged a bogus raid at a home in Killarney. That matter has been the subject of testimony before the Malanga Commission recently. Van der Waalt's lawyer, Peter J.
But what is absolutely shocking is that we were all under the impression that it's a Schedule 5 matter. When we came to court this morning, we learned it's a Schedule 6 matter. So that makes the owners totally different. And the first available date for a bail application, seeing that the state is opposing bail, is the 16th of July.
Lawyers for crime intelligence top cop Feroz Khan say he has not healed from his gunshot injuries and is still unable to speak. Khan is currently in hospital after being shot during a suspected attempted hit last month. The Malanga Commission is continuing with its work in Khan's absence by reading into the record evidence it has against him. Today, evidence leaders announced they have received new information on Khan. Khan's lawyer Muhammad Vali says he's concerned that he has not been able to brief his client on the new evidence.
I reiterate that we are not yet favoured with instructions from General Khan. I mentioned that while he is responsive and there is signs of improvement, he is unable to converse with me. I went to the hospital in an attempt to see to what extent he is able to converse.
Vali says he is currently acting based on residual instructions from Khan.
I have to act in General Khan's best interest to protect his rights. And what I've just seen this morning as an opening gambit of proceedings troubles me. It troubles me because we were not privy to the intended evidence. We were not privy to where the evidence was intended to be led.
About 250 undocumented Zimbabwean nationals stranded in an open field between Epping and Gwalanga in Cape Town are hopeful that they will finally return home today. For several days now, thousands of migrants have been seeking refuge at the Home Affairs Repatriation Centre in Epping. The facility has since closed down, leaving hundreds of people stranded. The situation comes amid growing calls from anti-illegal immigration groups calling for undocumented migrants to leave South Africa. Ntutu Zalonene reports.
Some Zimbabwean nationals stranded in the open here say they are expecting buses to arrive today after departures were delayed yesterday. Zimbabwean national Mr. Ncube, who says he is in South Africa legally, believes his fellow countrymen will not have to spend another night in the cold.
Yesterday there were buses, then they loaded and everybody was ready to go. But there's a slight bit, I think, of payment issue. But today it's 100%.
Ncube says he'll remain in South Africa because his immigration documents are in order, but has stayed behind to support those preparing to return home.
I'm not going. I've got people who are going. My papers are okay. But you can't be home and your fellow people are here.
In a statement, Western Cape Premier Ellen Windy says undocumented migrants who were unable to board buses to Musina should seek assistance from their respective embassies or consulates. Ntutu Zalonene, Eyewitness News in Epping.
Transport Minister Barbara Creecy says government is beginning to see the impact of reforms aimed at rebuilding South Africa's transport sector. The minister has been addressing the Southern African Transport Conference taking place in Pretoria today. This is where she outlined progress in rail and port reforms and stressed the need for a more sustainable transporting system. Annelita Fandese reports.
Transport Minister Barbara Creecy says government remains committed to restoring rail as the backbone of South Africa's freight logistics system. Speaking at the 44th annual Southern African Transport Conference today, Creecy announced that 11 private train operating companies have now been approved to access the national rail network. Operations are expected to begin in April next year, with government targeting the movement of 250 million tons of freight on the Transnet rail network by 2030. She also highlighted improvements in passenger rail, saying 35 of the country's 40 priority rail lines have now been restored. The minister said shifting more passengers and freight from rail to road will reduce congestion, improve road safety and lower carbon emissions. Annelita Fandese, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
And in Sri Lanka, the death toll following clashes at a local prison has now risen to 23. Those killed include 4 guards, while more than 100 people have been left injured. It follows overnight clashes between inmates from 2 drug gangs in Negombo prison. Large crowds of relatives of the inmates have gathered outside the prison today as the Air Force deploys drones and a helicopter to monitor the situation. In December 2020, rioting at another prison in Sri Lanka killed 11 inmates and wounded 117 during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. This led to the government to release hundreds of inmates from overcrowded jails in the country. Gold is trading at $4,141.71 an ounce. The rand is at 16.22 to the dollar, 21.63 to the pound, 18.52 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $71.66 a barrel.
Leaving Midrand heading towards Sandton, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. N1 southbound, this is between New Road and the Gilulis interchange due to an earlier accident. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic in Lenasia on the R554 Abu Bakr Drive between Nirvana Drive and Chris Hanid Road.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 19 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN, the case against 2 suspects arrested in connection with the alleged theft of precious stones worth 14.9 million rand in 2023 has been postponed to July 16.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
On Sunday, 26 July, 7:02, Josie My Josie Walk the Talk unites us all in the iconic Joburg CBD.
7:02
Walk the Talk. Abize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Nine minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. And it is the first Monday of July, so you know what that means. We're going to be kicking off with 7:02 Afternoons Book Club with Mandy Wiener. And we'd love to hear from all of you on the local fiction that you are reading, would like to read. Send your recommendations through to 7:02 Afternoons at 702.co.za. And today's book is called The Witch Word by Catriona Ross, and we're looking forward to chatting about that book, which today our producer read for us, Pashida. And then movies and what to stream. We've got Adelaide Moyeng coming through. Send through your recommendations, movies, series, documentaries. Founder of Movies and Stuff SA will join us. Let us know what to watch or maybe what not to watch. The travel feature, the rise of travel that helps you recharge. And this is Wellness Meets Wanderlust with Gabby Brondani, writer and travel correspondent for the show. The second hour of the show, we're talking in our Parenting and Parents feature around navigating maternal mental health, a doula's perspective on maternal mental health. We'll be joined by Josejo Kodu Ramopo, who is a doula, maternal health advocate, and birth justice activist. Gents, make sure you join the conversation as well. It pertains to you too. And then we wrap up. We do not have Dr. Chris with us again for today, but we'll be having a conversation around confronting the growing reality of Parkinson's in South Africa. We'll be joined by Rakesh Patel, founder of Parkinson's South Africa, as well as Dr. Nombini Habananga, who is a medical affairs director at AbbVie. Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
7:02 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 7:02.
Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Afternoons Book Club with Mandy Wiener. Do I get this excited every time you come to studio? Even though we see each other every single day. I love it. Because it's not the same. Seeing you off air and seeing you on air are not the
Way
same.
more fun, huh?
So welcome to my show. Thanks for coming. It's the Book Club feature with Mandy Wiener.
I have real book club and then I have my own book club tonight.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Tell me about your book club, because you have also kind of a book club on your show as well.
Oh, but this is like my personal book club that I'm talking about.
With fancy people.
No, just with normal people.
Mandy looks like she knows fancy people. Do you guys have a dress code and everything?
No.
What book are you guys doing?
No, not
you
wine.
force them to do your book.
So we drink more wine than anything else.
Okay, I know that kind of. I get you. I feel you. All right. So today we're talking The Witch Word by Catriona Ross, and the author will be joining us soon. But not only did our producer tackle the book, Mandy said, well, let me see what I can do in an hour on a Sunday. And she got through the book.
I read the whole book this weekend. Our producer read it for us. I mean, please. I read the book every month.
She really does, guys. She really does. And you are such a good reader and mad respect as always. Okay, tell us about High Level. Before you tell us what the book is about, did you think based on the title and the outline that you were going to get what you got?
No, I did not.
I'll
tell you what this book is about. Sex. A lot of it.
Okay, kids in the car, parents, it might
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. Feel free to switch the station, listen to the podcast later, priorityplus.com. So are we talking like that trilogy, Grey's Anatomy?
No, it's very different. It's more academic, and I'm interested to hear what Catriona, I'm going to get this right eventually, Catriona,
yes,
her take on it, because it's used as a device in the book, but there is a lot of it, and it is it presents itself in a diary of an older woman who is constantly referencing, who has this mad sexual love affair with a younger man. So that's kind of like a subplot in the whole book, but that's not what the book is about. I mean, quite funny, it opens with a disclaimer that says this book contains a lot of sex, so it does tell you what is coming on it.
Yes.
But it's not about that at all.
Please actually
really.
be careful of your choice of words.
Yeah, I'm trying
because
to be
now
careful.
that you've said what it's about, everything could sound like an innuendo, like the word you used earlier.
Yes, I understand that. I shall be very, very careful. So really, I mean, this is a book that is infused with subtle magic and sensual realism. On the cover, it says a novel about selfhood, women's bonds, and the dangerous power of language. So there's this protagonist, the main character is Raffi Patterson, and two other women who are her sisters, for lack of a better word. And it's really about their journey, and it's about this place called the Plex, which is a residential complex, but it's so much more than that. A lot of this book is about energy, finding your own energy. There is the surreal magicalism about it as well, and it's all about coming into your own power. So it's about various people's journeys coming into their power, receiving their word, and that word is a power, and it's a kind of about this journey that these three women go on, and it's quite hard to explain without giving the end away.
Don't give it away, but I have to ask you a question before we get our author to join us, which is there's a big conversation around South African television and the sex scenes, right? And the constant conversation that people are having is, when is sex a vehicle that is required for storytelling? And when is sex just there for ratings? Because many South Africans are saying we miss being able to watch movies together as a family. Now, granted, there are, my view, working in the industries, there are storylines that do require that visual, not even the implication, because the how it happens also tells you certain things about the characters and. I'm curious before we find out from the author.
Well, I think the author's take on this is going to be important because she sees it in a very academic way.
Yes. So how did it make you feel?
So for me, there was a point where there's the potential for the sex to become gratuitous.
Yes.
But when you understand that it is being used as a device, you view it differently.
So, whenever you get the chance to watch The Polygamist on Netflix,
I have finished already.
You have?
Yes.
Well done.
Of course.
So that the reason I'm making that reference is because people were complaining about the scenes, but I realize if you look beneath the layers, even the way that your lead character would have sex with the different woman in his life was not the same.
It was different.
It was not.
Ask Celeste and Thuli, right?
Yeah. Completely different, right? So, okay, I'm so interested to hear all about it. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we get to speak to the author of The Witch Word, Catriona Ross.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Hi, Bongani. Great show regarding Pick It Up. The same thing happens with Joburg Water. A few weeks ago, I had a municipal drain blockage in my yard, and then they sent through a private company that does storage work and stuff like that, which, they did a great job. But while I was speaking to the guys, they charging the city 40,000 rand a day for the truck.
Yeah, I mean, when you read that Pick It Up is flush with 2 billion rand in the bank, and yet it owes suppliers, and yet at times services aren't delivered because those suppliers haven't been paid. And then you hear about fuel shortages, and they haven't been able to procure brand new trucks since 12 years ago. What does that tell you about the hubris and the indifference of those in charge, that in an election year where local government issues are going to be front of mind for voters and residents, this is still the kind of nonsense they can pull because they don't care?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Due to unexpected nationwide protests next week, the Academy of Sound Engineering Open Day has been postponed to Saturday, the 11th of July. The door to a successful career in the entertainment industry opens at the Academy of Sound Engineering, 82 Richmond Avenue, Auckland Park in Johannesburg, on Saturday, the 11th of July. That's this Saturday. Open the door to a successful career in entertainment at the Academy of Sound Engineering Open Day. Get in touch at ase.co.za or email info@ase.co.za. Academy of Sound Engineering, ultimate entertainment education.
Jozi is moving. People are showing up. Communities are stepping up. We see you, Jozi. Asambe. ABSA is proud to partner with 702 Walk the Talk on 26 July. Thousands will take to the streets of Jozi CBD and celebrate what makes this city iconic. Visit absa.co.za/702 Walk the Talk. ABSA is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Incredible Mazda moments of wonder await around every scenic twist and turn at 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Because on Sunday, 26th July, you get to discover 5 Mazda wonder experiences on the 8-kilometer route from a stunning Japanese garden to a world of color. Visit one and share your wonder moments on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Then tag and follow at Mazda SA using hashtag Mazda SA, and you could win your share of 50,000 Rand thanks to Mazda, where wonder awaits. Official vehicle partner of 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. T's and C's apply.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
21 minutes after 1 o'clock, we continue on the book club with Mandy Wiener as we chat about the book The Witch Word by Catriona Ross. And I'm going to give the disclaimer for those of you that are in your vehicles with children. The book does talk a lot about sex, so feel free to switch stations. Moms and dads, you can listen later on primemediaplus.com or download the app to catch up on the podcast. So, audible 1-888-30702, the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. I'd like to welcome on our guest, Catriona Ross, who is the author of The Witch Word. Catriona, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Relebogile. Thank you so much. I'm very well.
So have you by any chance watched The Polygamist?
I haven't, but I'm really looking forward to watching it.
Wonderful. And the only reason I led with that question was to ask about your views and your choice to include sex in your book.
Well, I think as a woman, when you reach a certain age, it's quite an amazing thing that happens because you just don't care anymore. So you don't mind what you say or write. You have this new level of freedom, a lack of inhibition. And I've been a novelist, a writer of books for many years. And I just reached a point where I thought, I'd really like to write about sex from a woman's perspective, because I feel that a woman's perspective on sex is absolutely underrepresented in all literature, all media. And especially older women's experience of sex. And we have these younger women characters in the book, but I wanted to juxtapose that against a woman who's further along in her life experience, where she's having this wonderful romance with a much younger man. And she has this question, who do I talk to about this? Because it's not really something she can shout from the rooftops. So there's an element of secrecy. And yes, it's a device as well, a metaphor for women's power and coming into your power. There's this thing that's sort of bubbling away inside you, and maybe you've given it a wonderful expression through a relationship, but then what do you do with it?
Catriona, it's Mandy. I read the book over the weekend, and I had to warn Relebogile about the rather graphic detail and the extent to which you describe sex in the most incredible ways. But you speak about the device, and I was saying to Relebogile that it could potentially become gratuitous, but you use it as a device so well. Explain that to us and that metaphor.
So the character, she's an art academic. So I imagined her picturing almost the aesthetics of sex, the beauty, and then also very much the nuance and the granular detail. But she's also interested in it from a kind of a research scientist point of view. She's like, what does this mean? And what happens there? And what was that all about?
It's very academic.
And in exploring sex, yes, she is an academic, works at a university. And so I think she kind of alternates between describing it in these lyrical terms because she's very much in love with this younger man. But she's also then taking a step and writing her notes like an academic in her sex diary and going, what's happening there? And also she's looking at herself, and what comes up sometimes is self-doubt. And that feeds into this notion of feminine power. Like we all have it, but sometimes there are forces and elements that try to, I think, make us doubt ourselves, and we choose whether or not to feed into that.
So does that have anything to do with the play on words of the title, The Witch Word?
Absolutely. I didn't want to make the magical aspect too overt, because then, yeah, it's just another witchy book, but there's very much the sense of witch. You're quite right. It's what do we do with the power that we have once we realize it, once we think, we mature, or something shows us in our lives that we actually are enormously powerful. It's which way do we go? What do we do with it? So yes, I wanted that to suggest that element of choice in what we do.
And that's where this subtle magic obviously comes into the book, where you speak about the power of language and people accepting their words, finding them. What was your intention with this and the power of language?
Well, Mandy, I know you've also written you've written books, and we all work with words every day. And words are just, I think language and words are one of my early loves, and they're enormously powerful. And I wanted to celebrate them. I wanted to almost slow people down and have them thinking, gosh, in my own life, if there was one particular word that really drew me, that really fascinated me and perhaps unlocked power inside me, what would that word be? I really wanted to get people thinking. And also throughout the book, there's a kind of a game, and you find out that you might want to guess people's words. And there might be some that are quite easy, some of them I give you, and there's some that are very difficult. So I wanted to really celebrate words and also get readers to think of words as in how we respect them, and to be cautious and discerning about the words that we use, because they are very powerful. I mean, you think of how whole nations' stories are created through the power of words, the way people see situations, the way they see their whole lives, the way we frame situations, the stories we tell ourselves, how we can change that. And it's using words. Words are very powerful tools. They're magical, and they also can be dangerous.
I did have that thought, what would my word be? And then at the end of the book, obviously, you've got the names with the which word, and I didn't come anywhere close to working it out.
I think that's quite good to hear. I want it to be a real challenge. And Mandy, something funny was, while I was in this process, a friend of mine who knew the concept of the book said to me, so, do you have a power word? I'm like, yes, absolutely. And then I realized that I'd forgotten what it was. I thought it had come to me 2 months earlier. I was like, oh my gosh, I got my power word. And then when he asked me, I was like, oh, damn, what was it? What does it mean if I've lost my power word?
Your word will find you.
Thank you. I needed to hear that.
I'm going to do my best to ask questions that obviously don't require you to give away the plot line. But can you share with us, as Mandy already touched on, the fact that it's based on a complex of sorts called the Plagues that is critical to the story, but also in the backdrop of Cape Town. Can you chat to us about what those two locations represent in the story?
So these are two places where I've lived. I'm a resident of Cape Town. And when I was in my early 20s, I lived in this really, really interesting complex in Observatory, which is quite a cool, hip, edgy neighborhood under the mountain near the university. And it was, there actually had been Boer War stables. So stables for horses in the early 1900s. And each cottage had been a little stable. And there were all these very interesting artsy people living there. There were a few ballet dancers. There was a woman who seemed to be in charge of it. And this whole beautiful place with this kind of cathedral of trees growing over it and a central lawn, it stayed in my mind for years and years and years as a sort of romantic place where magical things could happen. And then, it was decades later when I had the idea for the witch word, I suddenly thought, that is exactly the setting. That's where I want this all to play out. And so I made it have every door have a different color that almost told you something about the person who lived in that cottage.
And just in terms of everybody who's going to head out and reach for the book, what do you hope they take away with them?
Gosh, there's a lot. So I think mostly it's a glorious celebration of women's bonds. I hope there's some male readers as well who want to see what life is like for an older woman having the most fantastic love affair with a younger man. But also just to celebrate the sisterhood, the extended sisterhood that women have in their lives, whether it's your actual sisters or women friends who are like sisters for you, to celebrate that intimacy that we have with each other, the banter, the joys, the secrets we tell each other. And also, I would say to think about your own power and to be very intentional about what you do with it. That sounds very Cape Town, I know. But I think we all have a lot of power when we caught.
Still applies and still very much relevant, I think,
Good.
especially with what you're saying about finding your power. But thank you so much, Catriona Ross, for chatting to us. The book for the month is called The Which Word, 7:02 afternoons at 702.co.za. If you would like us to feature any of your local fiction choice on the show. It's just after 1:30 time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. The case against 2 suspects arrested in connection with the alleged theft of precious stones worth 14.9 million rand in 2023 has been postponed to July 16. Adrian McKenzie and Etienne van der Walt made their first appearance in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today after handing themselves over to police. They are facing charges of robbery with aggravating circumstances as well as fraud. The Basic Education Department says it has cleared the backlog of pit toilets identified at public schools under its 2018 SAFE initiative. Minister Siviwe Gwagube says over 3,000 schools identified in that initiative have now been provided with safe and appropriate sanitation facilities. But the department has warned that sanitation challenges still remain at some schools outside of that original audit. And DA Federal Chairperson Solim Simang wants his party's National Management Committee to investigate allegations against DA veteran leader Tony Leon. That request follows claims that Leon's firm, Resolve Communications, used its political connections to secure access to senior government leaders for corporate clients. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're traveling through Midrand heading towards Sandton, traffic a bit sluggish. This is on the N1 southbound between New Road and the Patlu interchange due to an earlier accident, while in Centurion also slow-moving traffic N1 northbound. This is between the R21 Flying Saucer interchange and Garsfontein Road. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in 4 ways at Winnie Mandela Drive and Monte Casino Boulevard. Traffic lights still not working in Midrand at Lever and Olifantsfontein Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
1 year ago, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's explosive allegations shook South Africa and ignited a national reckoning over organized crime and corruption. Within days, President Cyril Ramaphosa established the Mlanga Judicial Commission of Inquiry to investigate the claims. The political fallout was swift. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu was placed on leave. Feroz Kachala was appointed acting minister, and the commission began hearing evidence from senior police officials and other witnesses. The Commission's first interim report led to referrals for criminal investigation and recommendations for disciplinary action, which Ramaphosa accepted.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
On Sunday, the 26th of July, ABSA and Mazda are making your 702 Jozi, My Jozi Walk the Talk truly iconic, with a chance to win a brand new Mazda 2 on the day. To enter, download, register and transact on the ABSA banking app between the 26th of June and the 20th of July 2026. Jozi, ABSA sees you. Asambe. ABSA is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. Competition terms and conditions apply.
John, where are you rushing to?
Sure, I'm off to SARS. I need to check if I must file.
Wait! SARS sends auto-assessment notices from 1 to 12 July.
Done. Just like that?
Yes. If you get a notice of assessment, check it. If it's correct, you're done. If it's incorrect or you did not receive one, file from 13 July on e-filing or the SARS Mobi app.
I could already be done.
This filing season, experience the power of done. Expect your auto-assessment notice from 1 to 12 July or file from 13 July via e-filing or the SARS Mobi app. Go to sars.gov.za. SARS, at your service.
It's Harold's hotline. Pat on the line.
Harold, I'm panicking.
panicking. I've been walking around the mall for 4 hours. I'm currently staring at a scented candle, a car tire pressure gauge, and a pack of batteries. Should I just get all of them?
Gee, Pat, you're not buying a birthday gift. You're building a lost and found bin.
I thought if I get enough variety, one of them had to hit the mark.
My friend, you're confusing a birthday with a roadside emergency kit.
The mall is closing in 10 minutes, Harold.
Good. Get out of there, click on Net Florist, get a beautiful floral arrangement and a personalised bottle of their favourite wine. Net Florist. It's easy to show you care.
702 Movies.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock. Movies and what to stream time. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Joined by Adelaide Moeng, award-winning camera operator and founder of Movies and Stuff SA. Follow her on the socials. Happy Monday, Adelaide. Let's jump into it.
Happy Monday, Lavina. How are you?
I am doing well, and we are geared up for the week ahead of us.
Yeah, happy Monday to everybody. And I think it's a really good week when it comes to content. There are a couple of really good projects that are coming out locally, especially. But one film that I actually watched last week that is international, but I actually really, really enjoyed, is a film called Solo Mio, which is a Kevin James film, and it's actually set in the backdrop of Italy. So those who are really, really in love with international rom-coms, I think you'll definitely enjoy this film. Essentially, it's a very charming romantic comedy set against the beauty and the backdrop of Italy, with beautiful landscapes and a really heartwarming story about taking chances. And essentially, Kevin James in this film is about to get married, and everything is perfect. He has planned everything to the T, except the one person who's supposed to pitch completely ditches him. And obviously, a lot of people who have international weddings will, book a honeymoon, book everything while they're there. And so now he has to figure out what he's going to do because his bride has ditched him. But it actually turns into a very heartwarming, loving story. It's got a very small cast, but the story is written so well. And it's very funny, it's very quaint, it's very warm. I think if you're looking for something to decompress from reality, because there's so many things happening, I think you'll definitely enjoy Solo Mio. I know it does sound a little Italian, and so maybe you might think, oh, it's not something that I can go and watch, but you'll definitely enjoy it. I think it's really, really good. Like I said, Kevin James, he soars in the film. He's hitting all of those really great humor points that we like in a rom-com, where it's not too corny, but it's also not too serious either. And they do, talk about a lot of things. And I think even what they touch on in Solo Mio so well is late love. There are some people who end up finding their soulmates later on in life, in their later years, when they're a little bit older. And so sometimes I think people might think maybe their chance has gone, but this film actually proves that second chances do happen, even when it comes to something like love. So Solo Mio came out on the 3rd of July, but it is still obviously at all of your local cinemas. Make sure to go and support cinemas so that they can still stay open. And remember, you can also watch some of these films on half-price days. So you can just check on your local website for the cinema near you and check when that half-price day will be so you can go and enjoy these things.
And the reference from Solo Mio comes from the opera song, Oh Solo Mio. Oh, Solo Mio. Just had to throw that in there. All right, so let's now talk The Four of Us, which has done something groundbreaking. Not only are they broadcasting on ETV at 8 p.m., they also are on Netflix.
Which I thought was actually very weird. In the beginning, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Because I saw a poster of it saying that it's going to be aired on ETV. And then I said, okay, great, cool. It's a brand new telenovela. We always love that. Next thing I'm seeing, an ad about it on Netflix. Now I'm like, wait a minute, what happened here? But in any case, for those who are not aware, The Four of Us is a brand new telenovela replacing the long-running Scandal, which, womp womp, very sad about that. We all grew up on it. But at least they were able to replace it and give us a brand new telenovela to replace it. And it's actually starring Jonasi from The Polygamist. I don't even know if people will know him as Ustumo, because I know he's Jonasi now internationally. I think if he should change his name, that might be the best thing for him. Really, and it even has Oramuchwene, and it even has Tembinko Simtempu, Dumisani Dlamini from Hizo Hizo, who's Doja Cat's dad. If you don't know, you're living under a rock, but he's also there as well. And it essentially follows the Jomo family, who begins to unravel after the passing of their father, Mr. Jomo. This brings up obviously old tensions between the four siblings as they struggle to uphold the Jomo legacy and protect the successful car shop business empire from their scheming uncle. And yeah, like you said, it is airing on ETV. However, Netflix comes in when you want to catch up. So that's the little twist that they've got going on. And obviously, it's the first of its kind where they're actually able to get this done and be able to incorporate two companies in this kind of deal. This company is obviously being ETV, which is a local company that we all know of, and Netflix being international. And I think this is actually a really great step in the right direction to make sure that not everything is exclusive to just certain networks or platforms like Netflix. I think I like the fact that they're also working together with local TV stations to incorporate our local content, and they see how well it's even doing with the fact that they're giving us, South African shows, but also incorporating what is going on at the moment. So I really love that, and I really hope it fosters more relationships where we get to see this collaboration, because not everything can be seen on one platform, and not everybody has enough money to enjoy one platform too. So actually, this makes more sense than people actually know.
All right, then we move on to Dear Sis Dolly. We were fortunate enough to have the phenomenal Mom Abigail Kubeka in studio with us recently. Also, Thandiwe Khoroge was also with us in studio recently. And this, I think, is going to be a goodie.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. I've actually had... I've seen the trailer and I've heard a lot of good things about this film. Actually, it's I think it's homage, or it's paying homage to Drum Magazine's story. For those who grew up on the legendary Drum Magazine that we all grew up on, this young, bustling psychologist, right, in her 20s. Her name is Ketiwe, and it's also played by Divinke. She actually is trying to find a way to spread her skills and try and connect with people in her community. And then she thinks to herself, what is the coolest way I can do this as a psychologist to actually find a way to talk to people in my community and help them, and also run a mental health clinic at the same time. And she decides to actually go and enter for the new Dolly competition, where they're trying to look for somebody who will be able to advise the community and the subscribers of of Drum Magazine, as to what they should do in their life problems. And I think it's really nice, because if anybody knows Drum Magazine, Dolly was an actual thing that was in the magazine, Now, obviously, they'll call to speak to you, Relebogile, to say, hey, I'm suffering from this problem. But back in the day, people would actually have to write into magazines to get some advice from people, and also just to show that, what you're suffering from is not something unique to just yourself. Here are other people that are also suffering from it. And like you said, the cast is amazing, very star-studded, absolutely love it. I know also Sis Thandiwe as well is in that as well. And she kind of plays this really cool villain almost.
Miranda Priestley.
Yes, Miranda Priestley.
Yep.
Devil Wears Prada. And I find that so weird, because she's such a lovely person, and she's so sweet. So to see her in that role is quite refreshing and really nice. And yeah, I love what's happening for her right now. She's in The Polygamist and Sis Dolly at the same time. Love seeing when things like this are happening, just to see that, there's actors that have got different ranges and different projects that they're working on. And Sis Dolly did come out on the 3rd of July. So it is at all local cinemas. Again, please, let's remember to support local films and local productions, so that we can continue getting these kinds of content from everybody.
Indeed. And then the final one is In the Hand of Dante on Netflix.
Honestly, I think In the Hand of Dante is a very complex film, but very layered and very beautiful in its sense. In the Hand of Dante is actually a historical and modern crime drama, and it's starring Oscar Isaac, who we all know from Frankenstein and Moon Knight. Also Gal Gadot, who I didn't expect to be in something like this. The way that it's also shot is very interesting. So essentially, the film follows two parallel narratives and how they interconnect. One is actually set in modern times, and the other one is set in the 14th century. An author is actually given a job by a mob boss to get the authentic, original, handwritten manuscript of the famous poet, the Divine Comedy, that is written by Dante Alighieri. And this poem actually centers around the afterlife as one soul travels from heaven and the other one into purgatory and hell. But things change when he then decides to steal it. And so you're following the same person, but in different narratives, as I said. The second narrative takes place in the 14th century in Sicily, where Dante, also played by Oscar Isaac, is now finishing this poem while trying to deal with his own grief, love, art, and spirituality. I think this film also, what I love about it is it kind of reminds me of The Count of Monte Cristo as well. If anybody is into those type of films, I think this is something that you'll absolutely love. And the way that it's shot is so beautiful. I cannot explain to you the shot variations and the cinematography that is in this film that makes it so spectacular. I must warn you though that it is quite long. It's like 2 hours and some change, but it's worth it if you like the journey of old school storytelling and old Hollywood as well. It definitely has those old elements of black and white noir and Hollywood, and also new modern ways of how we're shooting film today. And I think that contrast also is what makes this film something that is definitely a must-watch. It is on Netflix, I forgot to mention. And it also has Al Pacino in it, you know. It also has Martin Scorsese as well. Jason Momoa is in it as well. So the cast is quite wild and out there, but I think it works, From what I've seen, it's a very, very beautiful film. Please go and watch it. And tell me what you think.
All right, there are so many options for us to get into. So if you're not watching the World Cup, you're watching one of these. Thank you so much for your time, Adelaide Moying.
Mama Million here, and yes, I am a millionaire. Don't you want to be a millionaire fast? Because now you can play Lotto quick, fast, in a hurry with Shasha codes. Shasha codes are a QR code you can generate, walk into any participating retailer, scan, and print your ticket instantly. In and out. Fast, win-win. The National Lottery. More plays, more chances, more millions. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The National Lottery is officially operated by Sizakai.
Sure, they aced it. The Championship's Wimbledon experience with the Mzansi Advantage is back at Amex Tennis Town Monte Casino between 11 and 12 July 2026. Enjoy VIP hospitality, the ultimate big screen experience, a kids fun zone, and so much more. Buy your tickets now on Howler and get 50% off on limited tickets when you use your Amex card. Tennis is better with Amex. American Express Cards is operated under license in South Africa by Nedbank, a licensed financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
At Specsavers, we're committed to offering affordable and professional eye care. That's why we're offering 1,500 Rand worth of savings with our winter promotion. Get a free frame up to the value of 1,500 Rand, or use the 1,500 Rand on one of our leading vision enhancements, like Climate Eyes, which automatically adapts to changing light. To qualify, simply purchase a comprehensive eye examination and prescription frame and lenses. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
702.
Travel.
11 minutes to 2 o'clock in our travel feature for today. We talk about the rise of travel that helps you recharge. So it's all about wellness meets wanderlust. And today we're joined by travel correspondent Gabby Brandani. Make sure you follow her on the socials, 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Happy Monday, Gabby. I'm so excited for this one, especially considering that the talk of almost every day is around self-care.
Absolutely. And I think we've become conditioned to almost believe that self-care has to look a certain way. So your spa treatments, your meditation, all different kinds of wellness experiences. But in reality, self-care is honestly so personal. For some people, self-care, it's complete relaxation. For others, it's adventure, it's movement, it's getting out there and being active. For others, it's simply just escaping the pressures of everyday life. So self-care does really look different to each and every different individual.
Okay, so with self care being celebrated on the 24th of July, we do associate that with massages, spa days, and wellness retreats. Why is this a little bit different from that conversation?
Yes. So, in terms of travel improving our well being, there is evidence behind that. So, one of the biggest benefits of travel is that it interrupts our routines. We spend so much of our lives constantly connected. We're checking emails, we're responding to messages, we're juggling work and family responsibilities that our minds rarely get the opportunity to switch off. And so, even a relatively short holiday, even if it's a local escape, if it's a staycation in your town, it creates some space to slow down, to sleep better, to just spend time outdoors and to reconnect with ourselves or with the people that we're traveling with. And often we return from our holidays with a clearer perspective just because we've removed ourselves from environments that usually create stress for ourselves.
Okay, and I think that that is such an important thing, like how you've touched on. So, what are some of the places, and maybe before we even kick off with that, what is the evidence that travel can improve your well-being?
So we've got a whole bunch of different options. So you've got your beach escapes. This is perfect for anyone who's looking to slow down, whether it's your Bali or Thailand or even the coastal South African destinations. We're so spoiled for choice. Your beaches, they naturally encourage us to disconnect. Just watching the ocean, reading a book, eating well, and just spending time outdoors, it does reduce stress and create a sense of calm. Another type of holiday from a wellness perspective, you've got your mountain and ski holidays. So wellness doesn't always mean doing less, not for everyone at least. So many people actually recharge through movement. So skiing, it combines exercise, spectacular scenery, your fresh mountain air, and a real sense of achievement after a day on the slopes. And then, of course, you return to cozy evenings, your good food, and complete relaxation.
What are some of the things that a person, just because I mean, you've written an article about this, which does really speak to there isn't one perfect wellness holiday, but maybe you can speak about what you mean by that when you say there isn't one perfect. Is there something that we are not seeing that you have a secret to?
So there's definitely no secret to it. So we have briefly mentioned that wellness looks different to everybody. So one of the important things to ask yourself, there are a few questions actually. So ask yourself questions like, when planning your own personal wellness retreat, do I need or am I looking to have a complete rest? Do I need fresh air? Do I want a bit of adventure? Do I want to move my body? Do I want to be active in the outdoors? Do I want to spend more time indoors? Do I want to spend more quality time with my family as an aspect of self care? Or do I simply just want to disconnect from work? So once you've answered some of these questions, it does help choosing a destination because you're selecting the destination and the type of holiday based on your own preference to the well-being and self-care elements that you are most interested in, should be doing from a wellness perspective. It's very personal and it is something you need to take a bit of time, be a bit introspective and look at it from that perspective when planning a travel or a trip from a wellness and self-care perspective.
What are some of the questions that one can ask themselves to maybe help them figure out the kind of wellness trip they need?
Yes. So one of the questions is, what do I need most right now? So if you're exhausted, maybe choose somewhere that allows you to truly rest. If you've been feeling a bit stuck, perhaps choose somewhere adventurous that maybe pushes you outside of your comfort zone. If you've been missing quality time with your loved ones, it's a good idea to prioritize experiences that you can enjoy together. The best holidays aren't necessarily the most luxurious or the furthest away. It really is the ones that help you return home feeling healthier, happier, and just better equipped to take on everyday life.
What are some of the places, and maybe you can recommend a couple that you think are good types of themes for travel?
Yes. So, from a South Africa perspective, we really are so spoiled for choice from a nature and hiking perspective. So, spending time in nature, it has been, of course, shown to reduce stress and improve mental well-being. Um, we again are so fortunate from a hiking perspective. A lot of mountainous destinations. The Drakensberg is right on our doorsteps. Clarence is a beautiful space to explore from an outdoorsy perspective. Your Paris, so many different places. And hiking also naturally encourages mindfulness because you're focused on the trail, the scenery, and just being a lot more present in the moment. Another element from a type of a holiday perspective, self-care isn't always about escaping your family. So sometimes you want to reconnect with them. So that's where your family holidays come in. Family holidays, they create uninterrupted quality time that help you just reconnect with your family. And all these shared experiences become memories that you and your families can talk about for years afterwards.
And I mean, you've touched on nature and hiking. There are also, for some, maybe wellness is doing the adventure thing and getting some adrenaline into your body.
That's it.
Mine is very much the beach escapes. I will never ever say no to
yes.
water and being close to the ocean. Let's talk now family holidays. Sometimes they can feel like it's a lot, and wellness usually is associated with doing something solo. Is there another perspective you can share with us around a self-care family type of holiday?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So this is particularly important if your family if you have kids of different ages in your family. So, of course, a teenager is not going to necessarily be interested to do the same kind of family activities as if you had a toddler from a toddler age. So from that perspective, it's actually quite handy to consider your all-inclusive resorts. We've, of course, got the Club Med South Africa Beach and Safari, which literally opened this last weekend, where you've got the kids clubs for kids from babies all the way up to teenagers, where they've got age appropriate activities. So if your kids from a family perspective want to spend a little bit of time at the kids club, but then you guys want to meet and get together after lunch and do your family time at the swimming pool or learning trapeze together or doing all different kinds of activities, you can do that. So that's also probably one of the better ways from a budget perspective, where all your meals, all your drinks, all your activities are covered, and there's less financial pressure on the holiday to do all these experiences as a family, to enjoy new experiences, and just enjoy self-care within the family dynamic that everyone is going to enjoy based on what their preferences are.
I think also, you mentioned Club Med, which we saw being announced is now officially open. And I think another thing that maybe adds to the self-care is the fact that you don't have to think about so many things. If you're going to an all-inclusive resort, you don't have to wonder, what are we doing for supper? What are we doing for lunch? You don't have to figure out activities. You literally, everything is already pretty much done for you.
That's it. It's actually like the perfect kind of self-care retreat.
Okay, so when we now talk a little bit around if anybody listening is planning a holiday later this year, what are the pieces of advice that you can leave them with, particularly around self-care, which I think is what holidays should be about either way?
Absolutely. So again, start with those basic questions. What does self-care look like to you? What are some of the elements maybe that are creating a little bit of stress in your life at the moment? And where do you feel like you would most recharge? Again, do you want complete rest? Do you want fresh air? Do you want to be outdoors? Do you want something more adventurous, something more sporty and active? And those different questions will help you identify the type of holiday and also the destination to plan a trip to. And again, it doesn't have to be a big international holiday. We've really got some incredible local destinations and options. Again, even staycations are so great from a self-care perspective.
Indeed, they are. Gabby Brandoni, thank you so much for chatting to us today on our travel feature, just around that wellness meets wanderlust when it comes to travel. And yes, at the core of it all, bring self-care into the picture. In the next hour of the show, we're talking parenting and parents navigating maternal mental health from a doula's perspective and confronting the growing reality of Parkinson's in South Africa. It's 2:00.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The case against two suspects arrested in connection with the alleged theft of precious stones worth 14.9 million rand in 2023 has been postponed to July 16 for a bail application. Adrian Mackenzie and Etienne van der Walt made their first appearance in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today after handing themselves over to police. They are facing charges of robbery with aggravating circumstances and fraud. It's alleged the duo is part of at least 6 suspects that staged a bogus raid at a home in Killarney. The matter has been the subject of testimony before the Madlanga Commission. Van der Walt's lawyer, Peter J.
But what is absolutely shocking is that we were all under the impression that it's a Schedule 5 matter. When we came to court this morning, we learned it's a Schedule 6 matter. So that makes the owners totally different. And the first available date for a bail application, seeing that the state is opposing bail, is the 16th of July.
The Basic Education Department says it has cleared the backlog of pit toilets identified at public schools under its 2018 SAFE initiative. Minister Sivuyo Kwahube says over 3,000 schools identified in that initiative have now been provided with safe and appropriate sanitation facilities. But the department warns that challenges still remain at some schools outside the original audit. Mongezi Koko reports.
The milestone comes years after the deaths of learners including Michael Komape, Lumkam Kedwa and Langalam Viki, who died in pit toilet tragedies that sparked national outrage. The department says more than 3 million learners have now benefited from the program, which was launched to eliminate dangerous pit toilets following a series of tragic deaths. Kwahube has, however, cautioned that this does not mean every pit toilet in the country has been eradicated, saying some schools have developed new sanitation challenges or were not included in the original 2018 audit. The minister has called on provincial education departments to urgently identify and address any remaining sanitation backlogs while protecting the new facilities through proper maintenance. Monke Ziko, Eyewitness News.
DA Federal Chairperson Solim Simang wants his party's National Management Committee to investigate allegations against DA founding leader Tony Leon. The request follows claims that Leon's firm, Resolve Communications, used its political connections to secure access to senior government leaders for corporate clients. The allegations include claims that the firm facilitated a meeting between Starlink representatives and Communications Minister Soli Malatsi. Msimang says he wants the committee to determine whether the allegations have brought the party into disrepute.
This is something that I've written already to the National Management Committee, and we've agreed that this is something that has to be looked into, and actually then FedEx will have to then decide on the issue of disrepute then going forward. If there is the name of the party that is being brought into dispute and what steps now needs to then be taken, and those should actually then be taken.
Transport Minister Barbara Creecy says government is beginning to see the impact of reforms aimed at rebuilding South Africa's transport and logistics sector. The minister was addressing the Southern African Transport Conference in Pretoria today. This is where she outlined progress in rail and port reforms and stressed the need for a more sustainable transport system. Anelita Fandese has more.
Transport Minister Barbara Creecy says government remains committed to restoring rail as the backbone of South Africa's freight logistics system. Speaking at the 44th Annual Southern African Transport Conference today, Creecy announced that 11 private train operating companies have now been approved to access the national rail network. Operations are expected to begin in April next year, with government targeting the movement of 250 million tons of freight on the Transnet rail network by 2030. She also highlighted improvements in passenger rail, saying 35 of the country's 40 priority rail lines have now been restored. The minister said shifting more passengers and freight from rail to road will reduce congestion, improve road safety and lower carbon emissions. Anelita Fandese, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
And 330 children have been killed or injured in the first 6 months of this year in Sudan. This is according to the latest information from the United Nations Children's Agency. The war, which broke out in 2023, is between the regular army and the paramilitary rapid support forces in Sudan. The war erupted amid tensions regarding the integration of the RSF into the Sudanese army following a coup in 2021. While gold is trading at $4,142.28 an ounce. The rand is at 16.22 to the dollar, 21.63 to the pound, 18.52 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $71.66 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving the Joburg CBD heading towards Rivoli, slow-moving traffic on the M2 westbound. This is between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. Also traveling through Linwood, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 northbound between Rigel Avenue and the Garsfontein off-ramp.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 19 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The case against 2 suspects arrested in connection with the alleged theft of precious stones worth millions in 2023 has been postponed.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Visit primemediaplus.com to enter 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Josie.
For Joburg, by Joburg, in Joburg.
Bamise bonke.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. We're going to be jumping into our parenting and parents feature, talking navigating maternal mental health from a doula's perspective. And then we're going to jump into a conversation. We don't have the naked scientist with us today, so we will talk about confronting the growing reality of Parkinson's. I'd love to hear from all of you. Get in touch. 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
8 minutes after 2 o'clock. In our parenting feature for today, we talk about navigating maternal mental health, and we'll be chatting about it from the perspective of a doula. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702, as we're joined by Josego Kotu Ramopo, who is a doula, maternal health advocate, and birth justice advocate, activist as well. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Can I ask you to come much, much closer to your... There we go.
Thank you.
Can you share for everyone who has never even interacted with the word doula, what that means when you say you are a doula?
So a doula is a person who supports women and their families through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. So Kastwana usually give
Yes.
So we take care of pregnant women, like emotionally, mentally, we give a lot of information, essentially just to make sure that you don't walk the journey alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then when it comes time for the giving birth, is a doula sometimes there with possibly a midwife? Would a doula be replacing anybody in the room, or it is a role that can be an add-on or a supplement to the birthing process?
We would like to have it as not an add-on, but a standard.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people are confused about it, the difference between a doula and a midwife. So doulas, we don't do any medical interventions at all. We don't give any medical advice. However, we are trained in knowing a lot of things medically related, especially around birth.
Yes.
So usually with a lot of, all of the clients, usually I'm there throughout the pregnancy, throughout labor and birth. And then we assist postpartum, immediately postpartum with the latching of the baby and, all of that transition into motherhood.
Okay. And if a woman listening has her gynae, has a lactation specialist, has, let's assume, a midwife as well, plus the father, plus Bogogo in the room, what is the doula doing? And the reason I'm specifically asking this is just to paint a clearer picture that maybe you're not holding the scalpel with the doctor, but you are doing, I would imagine, maybe coaching the mom through the pushing and things like that, holding her hand, being a support.
So how I do with my practice, usually I would have my client to call me before when they start going into labor or when they think they're going into labor. You let me know. Hansi, we labor at home, especially if it's low risk. It's low risk client, we know that there are no issues. Then we go to the hospital when the time comes. In that moment, it's unlikely in hospitals that you will have Bokoko there as well, right? However, a lot of hospitals do allow a birthing partner of your choice and a doula. So the birthing partner sometimes is the spouse. And so all of us would be there. Usually in hospitals also you find that you're taken care of by a midwife or a group of midwives. However, they do take care of everyone else in the ward, right? So me as a doula, I'm there consistently with my client, as I say, and then the gynae will come when the midwives call them. Then one of the bigger purposes of a doula being there during labor and birth as well is that during the in and out, there are a lot of medical terminologies that are used. A lot of women are stressed, and it helps to have someone to interpret information as it's given to you, that this is what's happening now, this is what's going to happen. And, we unpack a lot of that stuff and when we go through the labor. And then during the actual birth, we also stay.
Yes.
And we, the help that we give the moms, especially in that period, and the dads as well, because they tend to, it's a scary process, right? So my job is to just make sure everyone is calm and they understand exactly what's going on. And I usually stay right through. And sometimes I even go into theater for those who go for C-sections.
Okay. And I mean, I almost feel like, and maybe you can correct me, does the word doula even have, I mean, you spoke about stwezi, but it's not yet a word you would use to say, I want to make this my career. Is it still something that is quite a new normal to be having a doula with, look at the spatial planning, how many women are living, far away from their support systems and things like that?
The actual word is new.
Yes.
I think a lot of people don't know what a doula is. And we have some medical aid companies that are forthcoming now with getting people to actually get a doula. And the challenge that they have is that now these people don't know what a doula is to begin with, even though it's part of the benefit. And so Rona, especially Black people, we have the benefit of being able to explain it, Kastswana or Xhosa as well, right? And also that's how...
Which I still don't even know what the English term would be, but it's almost like when you are in early postpartum, culturally you are not supposed to be out and about for, I'm going to estimate, around 3 months. So in that period where you're being looked after and helped by a support structure, which is usually your mother, elderly woman in the family, they refer to that as Swezi. That's the best way I can try and explain it. Which I think, sorry to cut you, the Asian community has a very similar thing that they do where there's certain foods that need to be eaten in that period and you're not allowed to leave the house. So it's a similar concept, which is hard to explain in English in one
English, yes. And I think also to be clear, culturally, we also do it from the beginning of pregnancy. There's certain foods that you must eat so that, you are well during your pregnancy and healthy, and then, of course, after birth. So one of the things that helps as well is that we still consult with our parents when we are going to seek help. This is my gynae and so and so. And a lot of times our clients also struggle with explaining to their families what a doula is.
Yes.
So it helps then to be able to say it Gastswana to the elders, no, this is actually what I'm doing. And I mean, a lot of them, even though they feel it's not a necessary thing to have, one of the things that I do is that I thank the mothers, the grandparents to be, thank you for allowing me to hold space on your behalf. Because normally that's what they would be doing, so essentially
yes,
and I get entrusted with that process. Yeah.
Yes. So if we talk maternal health, and maybe I don't want to start at the beginning of the finding out one is pregnant, but I'm curious, just over the past few decades, we have been getting more and more information around pregnancy, what happens in terms of hormones. We've gotten more and more information around early postpartum. Can you maybe share 2 or 3 of the biggest takeaways that we have learned? Because we do know that women's health is often downplayed because, well, my grandmother did it, my mother did it, what are you crying about?
Do you know, one of the things that I've realized, this information has always been there for us. It's just that the wording is not the same as how it is put clinically, right? The challenge that
also colonization happened, which dismissed existing systems, replaced with ones that must be tested in a lab, whereas a lot of the things we are taught now, like basic breast care, are things that I learned at home when I was still a teenager.
Yes. So, like recently I've seen online that there's celebration that semen can actually soften the cervix and everything. But if you recall, I think a lot of us can recall a time when there was a pregnant person in the neighborhood and you'd hear like an elderly lady saying to their husband, to get the labor going.
Oh, yes.
So the science has always been there. So we always talk about this false choice as well.
Yes.
Clinically and indigenously, this is how we do things and everything, but it's always been there. It's always been there.
So let me then ask one of the biggest things that I learned recently, which is the reason we give birth laying down on our backs. Some king back in the day that decided he wants to watch while women are giving birth. But technically, and that just became how things are, technically, maybe you can share that women would give birth squatting and could be able to do it on their own if need be.
Yeah, I think the nature of birth, especially in hospitals, is for the benefit of the medical practitioners, really. You're on your back because it's
easier for him to see.
Convenient for them to see and everything. I don't know how accurate that story is about that king.
Yes, have you heard of it?
Yes, I have. I have. I think in France or something.
Yes.
So, I always laugh that my husband always knows the difference when I had a birth in a hospital and when I had a birth in a birthing clinic. Because when I go to a birthing clinic, like places like Genesis and everything, I come back dirty.
What?
Because the mom gets on her knees. So we just follow.
I get you.
Right? We just follow. And then, I've had a birth in a shower. My client was like, I want to go in the shower. And we go in the shower.
You.
And
so whatever feels natural and works for the mom.
Naturally, yes. And I think one of the unfortunate things about the hospital setups is that it's highly litigious. So there are a lot of things that they're concerned about. They don't want you falling because then you might sue. They don't want you, doing anything that might put the hospital at risk.
Or the baby
litigation.
maybe landing on the ground and
or the
not
baby
being
landing on the ground. However, those things are, in my experience, it's rare to see that sort of thing where the baby, unless the person is unattended. So if you have a doula, because a doula is there with you all the time.
Yes.
Remember, the midwives come in and out and everything.
Yes.
So the doula is there with you all the time. We know all the signs to look out for when we now know you're like close to having this baby. There's been times when I called it before the medical staff called it, and I'll say, this baby is near, and no one believed me, and it actually happened. So it's that's the difference. Yeah, the medical hospitals, you will definitely be put on your back. And birthing clinics, usually, we go with the flow. So the mother gets to listen to their own body and everything, and we listen accordingly.
Okay, there is a caller on the line, 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. We've got Susie in Montana Park. Hi, Susie.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. And you, Susie?
Good, thank you. I'm just ringing in. I was just listening to you on the station. As you can hear, my accent isn't a normal South African accent. I've lived here for 15 years. And first of all, I want to pay my absolute respect to the doula. In Europe, where I originally came from, 15 years ago, I had a baby, and doulas in Europe are actually quite well known. And then in Irish culture, the women, when they're pregnant, like the African culture, the families are very much involved, as you said, the Asian community. And when I moved here, I find I didn't have any of that. I didn't know where to go. And as the doula's just saying now, I had nobody. And I wish I had her when I was pregnant 15 years ago.
Oh my
Honestly,
goodness.
Because you're without family. And when you've got your parents around you, especially in your culture, also you argue. So when you're in labor, okay, so it's your husband or whoever, you can't explain, whereas a doula will explain. And what I was also saying to your assistant there is that the medical aides are just not on board with it yet. And I think it's something that we really need to address here, because the girls just don't understand that we can get this help from professionals that have been through this experience so many times. And I think the African culture is one of the best. So we're a bit slow in South Africa to get on board with this.
Thank you so much for your call, Susie. And I mean, this is why we are having conversations like this, is to create the awareness, to find out a little bit more about what it entails, but of course also speak about maternal mental health, which is a big deal. And I'm so sorry you had the experience completely alone. It is tough. When they say it is a village, that village is there from pregnancy. It's not from much later when now you need babysitting. The village is there from the beginning. But I just had a thought as Susie was speaking, Josego, which was around the fact that so many of the elders in our communities, and I'm thinking about Susie, where you would hire somebody as a nanny, they themselves become doulas without even being aware, because they know of how things are done at home. I'm seeing now there are more Americans, a few British people I've seen that intentionally fly to give birth in like Korea or is somewhere in Asia, because they have specific postpartum clinics where you get fed a rich broth because of the college. Everything is done naturally.
Yeah, it's and the unfortunate thing with us is that we have this belief that also having a doula is a luxury. And when we think about maternal mental health, actually hiring a doula is, let me say, it's preventative care. So when you have someone there who's going to assist you and decipher information and unpack a lot of things, and there's a lot of debriefing as well. And, in the age of the internet as well, there's information overload. So there's decision fatigue and everything. And doulas actually also do that for you, that they bring everything together and let's focus on this. This is what you need. This is not necessarily what you need and everything, And it's no coincidence, a lot of natives around the world, they follow the same routine, for pregnancy and postpartum. It's unfortunate that we live in an era where everything has to be proven by science.
Mm-hmm.
And Lorona as doulas, and I think as indigenous people, we feel like there's a medical gaslighting of sorts or scientific gaslighting, you know. So it's the tradition, or maybe not tradition, it's the cycle of things that we already were practicing and then they get renamed and sold back to us.
No, because of the system of capitalism, but a conversation for a whole other day. Because on the one hand, they'll be like, but if women were doing fine without this person that now we need to pay for, why do they suddenly need? It's like, no, many women were not doing fine. So let's get now to the maternal mental health. What are some of the biggest challenges that you see expectant moms experiencing early on in pregnancy that maybe many women and spouses, partners, and all of that don't necessarily pay attention to?
You know, I think the biggest thing for me is that we have a culture of believing that pregnancy and birth and postpartum the suffering is expected. And that's not the case. I think a lot of people, when you tell them that, actually, no, you shouldn't be going through this alone. And they think, but it's normal. My mom did. My aunt did. You know, everyone went through it alone. And that should not be the case at all. A lot of women don't know who are the active participants in their own healthcare. So there are things that you can say no to. You should question, you know, a lot of things. And women who don't see midwives primarily for their pregnancies, they really struggle with how obstetricians sometimes engage them. That you walk in, there's a urine test, there's a scan, and they're like, everything is fine, and you walk out. But you don't have information. Or actually, what were we looking at? What are we expecting? So
why do I pee every time I come here?
Right. So one of the things that I do for my clients is that before you go for your checkups, we have to get on a call and we go through a list. This is what you should know coming out of this thing. This is how you should ask this. I use an acronym, your brain, or you know, everything you ask, like what are the benefits, what are the risks, what are the alternatives, what's my intuition telling me, and what if I say no? And those are the things that should be told to you. You know, your practitioners, your caregivers should give you those answers. So we are active participants in our own healthcare.
Benefits, risks, alternatives, intuition, and?
No. What if I say no?
Okay, yes. Because sometimes something can be framed as this is the treatment plan without being asked.
Yes.
This is actually, I don't want that one, I want this one. We quickly go to Umpemezi from River Club. Hi, go ahead.
Hi, Relebogile. Thank you so much for taking the call. I just wanted to weigh in and say, you know what, I'm in my 40s now, and I think back of when I just had my baby. It was as if I'm losing my mind. And my husband couldn't understand what's going on between the two of us. We were drifting apart because of how I was reacting to everything. But I wish I had someone there to just bring us together and close the gap and explain to him how postnatal depression can actually affect me, even though, you know, other areas of my life I was fine.
And can I just ask, how old is your child now?
She's now 10. She's now 10. But I only found out like 4 years later when I saw it going through, like looking at my friend, how she was reacting, that actually I was a bit like that. And I asked my gynae 4 years later, and she says, yes, you actually had symptoms of postnatal depression.
Okay. And how do you respond to Umpemezi?
You know, usually I find people who have doulas, they are the ones who are quick to get treatment as well, because we check in on them regularly, right? Now it's like my clients call me 24 hours a day. I'm available so that you don't go on TikTok, right? So I'm the one usually that catches on. Listen, Moto is not fine. And I would then say, you need to go and seek help. And also I encourage a lot of partners to go along with the pregnant women to the antenatal classes, because one of the issues, they really have got no understanding of what's going on. We do have partners who will tell a pregnant woman with everything that she's going through hormonally and everything, but my grandmother did this 9 times. So why do you feel the need to get someone to assist you?
My response would be, did your grandmother tell you she liked it? Because they never asked, but yes.
They
And I
never
mean, I get
asked.
so upset, even just something that she said, and she's not on the line anymore, where she said that the feeling of, now the burden sits on her to have to explain. Maybe in closing, how do you rally the men to be a part of these conversations? Because it's not a woman issue. It is a collective issue. Even if you are an uncle or whatever, for the mere fact that this person you are connected to in some way, shape or form is having crazy things happening in her body, like hormones doubling every day and all of those things, have certain implications, have certain risks.
I think the expectation is that women who are struggling with pregnancy and postpartum, there is an expectation to have seen a big traumatic event around it. And one of the things that women really struggle with is not being heard. And that's one of the factors that causes a lot of mental health issues related to motherhood. And so we need to believe women when they say that they're going through certain things. And there's another term, that the mother load. There's so much going on in the woman's head at that time and it's difficult to explain. Some things like motherhood itself.
Yep.
You can't explain it to someone who hasn't been through it. So it's those things that they're difficult to explain. So go to antenatal classes with your spouse, and actually go to therapy as well. And also consider debriefs. I've had a client who I do debriefs for people who didn't even have births with me. And there's been a guy who did a debrief with me when his son was 20 and his son was about to have his own child. And he said he wanted to reframe how he views birth before he becomes a grandfather. So debriefing as well is very important, and it's never too late to get a debrief.
It is never too late. You study that thing called the birthing process, pregnancy, the same way you study your teams that you cry over when they lose. It's just after 2:30. Apologies for the delay. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon, Mbali.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. While the Madlanga Commission is still investigating the motivation behind a decision by controversial businessman Zingumalo to fund a multi-million rand overseas trip, former Ekurhuleni city manager Emerson Mashazi was one of those who undertook that junket. In July of 2022, Ngumalo's company Zig Revenue Management chartered a 3.5 million rand private jet to London for Mashazi, her husband and two of their friends. The Basic Education Department says it has cleared the backlog of pit toilets identified at public schools under its 2018 SAFE initiative. Minister Siviwe Kwagube says over 3,000 schools identified in that initiative have now been provided with safe and appropriate sanitation. But the department warns that challenges still remain at some schools outside of the original audit. And Communications Minister Solly Malatsi says his engagements with Starlink were not out of the ordinary and were part of his role as a new cabinet minister. He defended his 2024 meeting with Elon Musk's company and was not saying he was not influenced by the lobbying of former DA leader Tony Leon's Resolve Communications. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're driving through Waterkloof heading towards Linwood, expect some delays on the N1 northbound between the R21 Flying Saucer Interchange and Garsfontein Road. There's also slow-moving traffic in Irene. That's on Nalmay-Pierce Drive approaching Main Road. Otherwise, look out for those roadworks. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Midrand at Levi and Olifantsfontein Road. Traffic lights still not working at Sharon Lee at Malibongwe Drive and President Fisher. Traffic lights also out of order in Four Ways at Winnie Mandela Drive and Monte Casino Boulevard. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Big advances in health are happening right here in South Africa. Local researchers are studying a new TB vaccine called M72 that could help stop people from getting seriously ill. And programs like Cochimbilo are helping men living with HIV overcome stigma, start treatment, and stay on it through peer support and private chat guidance. It's South Africans helping shape the future of global health, supported by the Gates Foundation for 25 years. Partners of human potential.
Halagasha! It's game time with Hollywood Bets and the Soccer Punches Challenge. Bet 500 Rand or more using the bet slip for the duration of the campaign and correctly predict all winning margins for your chance to win a share of the 5 million Rand jackpot. Climb the pay-to-play leaderboard and you could also walk away with a share of 500,000 Rand in prizes. Make your predictions now and celebrate every moment of the world's biggest soccer spectacular.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
No road, no traffic. Just your team, a stationary bike, and 25 minutes to make an impact. The CEO Cycle Challenge 2026 is back, and businesses are invited to enter a team of 4 for a high-energy studio cycling challenge at Woodmead from 31 August to 4 September 2026. Ride in support of education and opportunity for talented South African children while giving your business the chance to connect with other leaders. Entries are now open. Visit ceochallenge.co.za and enter your team today. CEO Cycle Challenge 2026.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
An important comment this week, I thought, from the chair at Eskom, Mteto Nyati. He says many people in South Africa's elite believe the rules don't apply to them.
We're starting to see organizations like BUSA, like BLSA, who have been quite vocal about interference of boards and are now actually doing exactly the same thing and asking for political interference when it comes to organizations like Eskom. And that concerns me.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Rewards. Get double cash back depending on your rewards tier when an African team scores and wins at the FIFA World Cup 2026, courtesy of Visa. Use your Absa Visa card at rewards partners on match days to score. Join Absa Rewards on the banking app. Your story matters. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive with John Perlman is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. Happy Monday, John. How was your weekend?
Yeah, very good, thanks. And yours? Happy Monday to you and good afternoon to all the listeners.
It was fabulous. Are you still glued to the World Cup?
You know, glued, I wouldn't necessarily call it glued because of the hours of the games and so on. So I watched the first game last night, recorded the second game and watched it in the morning. I'll probably do the same pretty much for the rest of the tournament. But I was really absorbed with the rugby on Saturday. I was at Ellis Park, which was great.
Indeed.
So, yeah, my attentions are sort of divided a little bit.
But your team has gone Brazil.
Well, look, it's the team I hoped would win. But, I didn't wake up with a knot in my stomach, feeling that something awful had happened, which is always a good sign.
You mean that knot we had after Bafana lost?
Yes, exactly. So you can feel... is it one of the first things I thought about this morning? The answer is no.
Okay.
Actually. So
okay, I hear you.
To the extent that I said I hope they win, but I wouldn't call them my team.
Oh wow, John! But if they were still,
I'm sure they're devastated.
They
by the way,
they are absolutely devastated where they are. All right, what's coming up on your show today?
Well, staying with the World Cup, obviously huge controversy. U.S. President Donald Trump getting in touch with FIFA President Gianni Infantino to push the case of rescinding the red card given to Folarin Balogun, who's a star player for the United States. Interestingly, the way he became an American was that his mother was meant to fly home, and they wouldn't let her on the plane because she was so heavily pregnant.
And that's how
why the baby was
there.
born in New York, and that's how he got citizenship, which I think is something that President Trump was very keen to have him in the U.S. team, but has been pushing very hard to have that kind of citizenship revoked. But that's life and
isn't
irony,
that the irony
and politics and sport. Park that for a minute. But we'll talk to Mark Gleeson, who's out in Atlanta covering the World Cup. FIFA has gone quite far over a line. Many people are saying. Other people might take a different view. Mark always has his own opinions, very strong ones, and I'm looking forward to getting his take at 10 to 5. 1 year since Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi gave his press conference. What has the Madlanga Commission revealed? Obviously a great deal, but is it taking us forward in our desire to see the police and related corruption cleaned up? I think the jury's still out. It's a huge, huge lake of stagnant and filthy water that does need cleaning up. And I'm not sure that we're entirely clear on just what the scale of the problem is. But Jeremy Veery is someone who's been watching it closely, very high up in the police in his previous life in the SAPS, and he'll be a great guest to shed some light on that. We are going to do a story about offshore gambling. The South African Bookmakers Association is saying that actually, technologically, the tools exist to cut off illegal gambling sites and cut them out of the site. I thought you couldn't cut off anything on the internet.
Yeah.
They believe very strongly that you can. We'll talk to them at 4:10. That and plenty more coming up between 3 and 6.
All right, 702 Drive with Brazil's number one supporter, John Pullman, coming up from 3 to 6 p.m.
Spend your afternoon
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
19 minutes to 2 o'clock. Usually on a Monday, we have the Naked Scientist with us. He is off again this week, but we are taking the opportunity to have a very important conversation around Parkinson's and really confronting that growing reality. Get in touch with us, 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Joining us in a studio, we have Rakesh Haribai, who is a founder of Parkinson's South Africa. Rakesh, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Relebogile.
Also joining us for this conversation that is on the line is Dr. Nombini Habangana, who is Parkinson's guest for today, who is Medical Affairs Director at ABV. Doctor, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to start with you, Doctor, just to share with us what Parkinson's is, and maybe it really does help where we use public figures that people maybe have known of. I remember, is it Michael J. Fox who was diagnosed with Parkinson's? And that was one of the first times that I actually got a better understanding once he started speaking about it, and even his characters that he would play had Parkinson's. But prior to that, I had never heard of Parkinson's before.
I think that's such an important element that you mentioned, right? That we actually count on these public figures to speak of these conditions that they have, because that helps the general public just kind of engage a little bit more and be more aware. And his name comes up very, very often. So Parkinson's is a progressive neurodegenerative disorder that primarily affects movement. However, you can have non-motor features as well. So the core problem is that there's gradual loss of nerve cells in a specific area of the brain that's involved in controlling movement. And these cells produce a chemical messenger called dopamine. And what it does is that it helps regulate smooth, coordinated movement. So as those dopamine levels decline, people then develop the typical symptoms that you know, like the tremor, as well as slowness of movement, muscle stiffness, and balance difficulties in some instances. Like I said, it's not just a movement disorder, right? It can also affect sleep, your mood, your sense of smell, digestion, and in some cases, even thinking and memory.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And Doctor, maybe for context, can you share with us in terms of, Parkinson's, is it categorized in the medical space as a life-threatening illness or terminal illness? And if we are saying it is terminal, what kind of diagnosis are we seeing in terms of time that is given? I mean, people are quite familiar with cancer, that a person could literally be in remission for years, live their full lives, but there are other things that when you get it, you already know it's a matter of, having conversations about palliative care and things like that.
Yeah. So the interesting thing really about Parkinson's is that it's not really the Parkinson's itself that's fatal. So these patients tend to have other comorbidities that affect them, and that's what leads to the fatalities. And I think that's what you mentioned is also a very common misconception around Parkinson's, that as soon as you get it, then that's the end for you. And that's not necessarily true, right? With modern treatment, with regular exercise, and a very holistic, multidisciplinary approach, many patients are able to live very long and active and meaningful lives, even years after the diagnosis. And I think with the multidisciplinary part, Rakesh might go into more detail about that.
So, Rakesh, you are the founder of Parkinson's South Africa. I would imagine that is because you yourself have been touched by Parkinson's. How did this all come together?
Yes, Relebogile. I mean, we coined the term "people impacted by Parkinson's disease" because it's not just the person with Parkinson's, but also the family members, friends, and just the general community around them. So myself personally, I was impacted by the disease. My mum had the disease some 17 years ago. She's passed on now, and subsequent to that, I guess the journey that I went on is what many of your listeners have gone through as well. In terms of people impacted by Parkinson's disease, it's a very lonely journey in South Africa. There's a lack of support. At least there was when my mum was around. And so there's no helpline for you to call and get the right advice. And the problem with Parkinson's, as the doctor has said, is that no one dies from Parkinson's. You die with Parkinson's, and the journey can actually be very different for everyone. And so, when you are diagnosed, you go through that journey of self-discovery on your own, which can actually be very, very painful. And then you obviously end up exploring the rabbit holes of the internet, which is also not very good.
What kind of prognosis were you given at the time of your mother's diagnosis? And I mean, was it a long period of it being diagnosed back then?
So look, I was in Johannesburg. My mum and dad were living in Durban at the time. When we got the news, we had a consult with the neurologist, and he basically said, "Look, you can actually sort of live a very long and meaningful life with the medication, but it is regressive, and over time, the symptoms will basically increase." So, I mean, it's exactly what we actually observed. I think my mum was diagnosed at the age of 58, and the next 10 years was actually quite normal. I mean, she managed a lot with the medication, but thereafter, I mean, the decline sets in because the medication, someone with Parkinson's has on-off symptoms. So typically, the drug that they basically take to replace the dopamine that they're missing, has a short lifespan, and it gets shorter as the disease progresses or as the cells in your brain start degenerating even further. So yes, I mean, with my mum, it was also a case of not having the support, and I think that's very important because I think it was Michael J. Fox that said that the expert with Parkinson's is the person with Parkinson's. So having a support group and meaningfully exchanging ideas with other people with Parkinson's in terms of how they manage the quality of their life is incredibly important.
We need to take a break. When we come back, we continue with the conversation. Share your experiences and stories. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Running an NPO is challenging, but proving your credibility to donors doesn't have to be. Izinga Assist, South Africa's leading NPO verification platform, follows a rigorous process in awarding your organization with a trusted 5-star rating and official digital certification. Get verified and become visible to thousands of donors by joining Izinga Assist today at izassist.org. Doing good, done better. Proudly supported by Primedia Cares.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
I'm Zola Nene, working with Ladies of Love to nourish small children who need our helping hands. Join us at Ladies of Love's Mandela Day hands-on events at DHL Stadium on 17 July or Johannesburg Expo Centre on 22nd July and spend 67 minutes hand-making items to grow our future leaders. Tickets are 300 Rand and this gives a child healthy meals for a month. Be a hands-on hero. Visit ladiesoflove.org.za for tickets today.
There's so much health information out there, but how do you know what to trust? Catch the Clement Mangatela show tomorrow at 9 a.m. for Health Matters by Cipla Africa. We will be unpacking important health conversations designed to help you better understand your body and well-being. Health Matters by Cipla Africa is a trusted hub bringing you expert-led health conversations you can trust. Then head to the Prime Media Plus app or primemediaplus.com. Scroll to Prime Media Highlights and watch the latest Health Matters video featuring leading experts and thought-provoking conversations, or WhatsApp the keyword health to 072 702 1702. We will send you the link to the content.
Spend your afternoon
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes to 3 o'clock, and we are talking about the growing reality of Parkinson's. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We have joining us on the line Dr. Nombini Habangana, who is a medical affairs director at AbbVie, as well as Rakesh Haribai, who is the founder of Parkinson's South Africa, following his own personal experience with his mother being diagnosed with Parkinson's. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Doctor, just in terms of what we are seeing at the moment, I mean, off air, Rakesh and I were speaking about how it is just growing in numbers in terms of the people getting diagnosed, and we are living a lot longer, so it becomes more of a challenge. Do you believe that where we are with the current health interventions, that we could be a lot further down the line? Because I feel like with technology advancing as quickly as it is, that there should be interventions by now that should be, oh, this is quite an easy one to deal with.
So 100%, I mean, Rakesh is definitely correct in terms of the growing prevalence of Parkinson's disease. So I think to answer your question, it's twofold, right? On the one hand, from a research and development perspective, there are new medications and new treatments that are available that are trying to manage those on and off times that Rakesh spoke about. But on the other hand, in terms of the healthcare infrastructure, especially in low-income countries such as South Africa, we still have a long way to go. Just in terms of public awareness in general, in terms of the number of specialists that we have to make a proper diagnosis and to start treating these patients early, we are very limited from that perspective. And that's why it's really important for people to recognize the early symptoms so that they can get diagnosed early and we can start managing the condition as soon as possible.
You spoke about something which, of course, is the awareness part, but in terms of accessibility, are you seeing that the public health sector is delivering in that regards, or is it looking like people are spending long periods of time not correctly diagnosed because it would require a referral or two to get to a point where somebody is saying this is what it is, and then the interventions come in? And are some of the symptoms looking like you're just getting old?
And that's, you've hit the nail on the head, right? That's the biggest problem, that because these early signs are almost non-specific. I mean, things like, reduced sense of smell or constipation, or someone suddenly speaking a little bit softer, or slowness in their daily activities. The assumption is always that, no, it's because they're getting old, there's nothing more to it. So just having that awareness that these could be early signs of Parkinson's then ensures that people seek that validation or that treatment from their HCPs or the healthcare professionals. And the accessibility is there, but it is limited, like I said, and that's unfortunate. But obviously, we've been working quite closely as well with the government, and trying to understand what interventions we can put in place to decrease that time of symptoms to diagnosis.
Rakesh, from your side, what are some of the stories that you find, or I know these are real people's lives, but a story you can share that really paints the picture of the reality we are facing in South Africa? Because you touched on, for example, the support system. So it's one thing to be given the treatment. It's another thing to have the people around you that know what to do when you are struggling with certain movements and all of those things.
So, one of the things one of our core objectives is multidisciplinary care, which Dr. Nomini referred to earlier. And we currently have 3 support groups across the 3 major metros, being Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Durban in KZN. And each of these support groups are basically centered on multidisciplinary care. So we have a licensed partnership with the Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorder Society of India. And what we were looking for was a rudimentary program that could actually be delivered in an urban setting as well as a peri-urban or even a rural setting. And so India was the closest parallel in terms of a public healthcare system to South Africa. The importance of multidisciplinary care cannot be understated. Without physiotherapy, this population falls, and it's well recognized that the biggest causes of disability and death to people over 65 is falling. So physiotherapy is critical. Occupational therapy is important in terms of living independently, cooking, bathing, doing the simple things that we all do. And of course, last but not least is speech and language therapy, because people with Parkinson's get impacted. They have swallowing difficulties, they have speech difficulties. And aspirational pneumonia could be one of the fatalities in terms of someone with Parkinson's. So teaching them how to speak, how to swallow, how to eat, this is all incredibly important. And this is really where we focus all our things. And just maybe the last thing to say on that, as you mentioned about the government and the public healthcare system, one of the things that we have actually called for at the beginning of the year is for government to basically include multidisciplinary care as a prescribed minimum benefit for someone with Parkinson's.
And we would expect that would be the case. Unfortunately, it's not, but we have run out of time. Head over to Parkinson's on parkinsonszA.org. That is the website to get more information.
Sure, they aced it. The Championships Wimbledon experience with the Mzansi Advantage is back at Amex Tennistown Monte Casino between 11 and 12 July 2026. Enjoy VIP hospitality, the ultimate big screen experience, a kids fun zone, and so much more. Buy your tickets now on Howler and get 50% off on limited tickets when you use your Amex card. Tennis is better with Amex. American Express Cards is operated under license in South Africa by Nedbank, a licensed financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702 Josie, my Josie, Walk the Talk is calling on you to walk with the people, for the people, on Sunday, the 26th of July. Babize Bonke. And this year you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The 5K Victoria Yards route takes you from Ellis Park through the inspirational Joburg Cricket Club into Victoria Yards and past the Troyville Hotel. You then finish off at Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on the 5K, the 8K, or the 15K, enter now on primediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie, my Josie, Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
The world's best male and female paddle players are coming to South Africa. The historic Premier Paddle Pretoria P1 will be at Sunbet Arena Times Square from 26 July to the 2nd of August. Expect world-class action, unbelievable energy, premium hospitality, and an atmosphere unlike anything South African sport has seen before. This is Africa's biggest paddle tournament ever, and tickets are selling fast. Don't miss your chance to witness the sport's biggest stars in South Africa. Get your tickets now at primediaplus.com.
Joburg, get ready for the hottest music festival of the year. Scatterling's Music Festival, featuring Zex Bantwini, Java, Sanal Musician, Jay Something, Msaki, Jesse Clegg, Simi, Trezor, Sminofu, and more, all on one stage. Scatterling's Music Festival, Huddle Park, Johannesburg. 1 August, 1 day. Back-to-back hits. Tickets on sale at webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by 702.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's 1 minute after 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Mashazi's London trip still under scrutiny at Madlanga Commission, and basic education clears pit toilet backlog. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Zamini. The Madlanga Commission is still investigating the motivation behind